You wake up already tense. Before you even open your eyes, you reach for your phone, you check the time, then you start scrolling, short videos, social media, whatever shows up first. You're not even that interested, but your finger keeps moving. Ever notice how automatic it feels? And just like that, your day already feels on. You get out of bed, you start your morning, brush your teeth, make some coffee, do the usual things. But you already feel a little behind, like you're late for something. Even when you're not, you move a little faster, for no clear reason, and your body still isn't fully calm. There's this low pressure in the background. You don't always notice it right away, but it shows up in small ways. You feel a little rushed, a little on edge, even when there's no clear reason. And by the time the day really starts, your system is already running. And if this feels familiar, there's a reason for it. And once you see what's really happening, you stop thinking something is wrong with you. Most people don't think much about this. They just call it a busy morning, or bad sleep, or just stress. So they push through the day like nothing is really wrong. They answer messages, they go to work, they do what they're supposed to do, and on the outside, everything still works. But that background tension doesn't really leave. It stays with you through the whole day, quiet, low, constant. And after a while, you stop questioning it. It just starts to feel normal. Like this is just how life feels now. But here's the part most people miss. This constant tension in your body isn't random. And it isn't just stress. For a lot of people, this is what anxiety actually looks like. Not panic, not breakdowns, not anything dramatic, just a system that never fully powers down. If this sounds familiar, there's something important to understand. This doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're weak, or lazy, or bad at handling stress. What's happening is much quieter than that. Your system has just learned to stay on alert, not because you chose it, and not because one big thing happened. For most people, this builds slowly, day after day, small pressures stacking up, notifications, deadlines, things to remember, things you don't want to forget, tabs left open in your mind all the time. None of it feels dramatic in the moment. Most days just feel busy, normal, manageable. You handle things. You get through the day. From the outside, everything still works, but your nervous system is still keeping score. It doesn't care that each individual thing is small. It only learns the pattern, more inputs, more pressure, more reasons to stay slightly on. So over time, your baseline starts to shift. At first, your body still knows how to fully relax. You feel it sometimes, maybe on a quiet weekend, maybe late at night when everything finally slows down. Your shoulders drop, your breathing gets deeper, your body actually feels heavy in a good way. But little by little, those moments get shorter, and the slightly on feeling lasts longer, until one day, you stop noticing the difference. You wake up and your system is already running. You sit down to work and part of you is already tense. You try to relax in the evening, and something still feels active in the background. Not panic, not full anxiety spikes, just never fully off. This is why so many people wake up tired even after sleeping enough hours. Because sleep and recovery are not the same thing. Your body can be in bed while your system is still lightly on guard. This is why your mind starts moving so quickly in the morning, why your attention jumps more than it used to, why sitting still sometimes feels strangely uncomfortable. Not terrible, just unfamiliar. Like your system prefers a little bit of noise, a little bit of input, a little bit of movement. And here's the part most people miss. When this becomes your normal, you stop questioning it. You don't think something changed. You think, this is just me now. So you try to fix the wrong problem. You blame your discipline, your focus, your motivation. You tell yourself, I need to be more productive. I need to get my focus back. I need to stop being so distracted. But pushing harder usually doesn't fix this. Because the issue isn't that you don't care enough. It's that your system has been running slightly elevated for too long without a real reset. And the longer it runs like that, the more normal it starts to feel, until calm starts to feel unfamiliar, and constant low tension starts to feel like your baseline. And here's the useful part. Before you try to fix anything, just start noticing when your body's already a little tense. Not to judge it, not to force it away, not to sit there and overthink it. Just notice it earlier than you usually do. Maybe in the morning, maybe when you first open your laptop, maybe when you're sitting on the couch at night and still feel slightly wired for no clear reason. Because once you can see the pattern, it stops feeling random. You stop assuming you're just bad at relaxing. You stop assuming your focus is broken. You start recognizing your system learned this state step by step, which also means it can slowly learn something different. And that's usually where things begin to change. Once your system gets used to this state, it doesn't just show up in the morning, it follows you through the rest of the day. You start noticing it when you're trying to focus. You sit down to work. Your screen is open. Your task is clear, but your attention doesn't fully lock in. Your eyes are on the screen, but your mind keeps slipping sideways. You read the same line again and again. You open a new tab without really planning to, then another one. Then you stop for a second and wonder what you were doing 30 seconds ago. Not because you can't focus, but because part of your system is still slightly on alert, still scanning, still ready to switch. Even when nothing urgent is happening, you might notice it in small moments of the day, standing in line, waiting for a file to load, sitting in a meeting that isn't even that stressful. Your leg moves a little, your fingers tap the desk, you check your phone just to check it. Not because something happened, just because your system is used to movement, used to input, used to staying lightly engaged all the time. From the outside, you look completely normal. You're functioning. You're getting things done. You're keeping up. But under the surface, your system is doing more background work than it used to. And over time, that starts to cost energy. By the middle of the day, you feel more drained than you think you should. Not burned out, not exhausted, just used up faster than before. Like your battery doesn't hold the same charge. Small tasks feel heavier. Simple decisions take a little more effort. You reread messages before replying. You switch between windows and lose your train of thought. You walk into a room and forget what you came for. Little things, but they start adding up. Your patience gets shorter in quiet ways. You get interrupted and feel more irritated than expected. Something small goes wrong and it lingers longer in your body. Not because you're overly sensitive, but because your baseline is already slightly elevated. And then evening comes. This is where most people think things should finally settle down. Work is done, messages slow down, the day is technically over. You sit down to relax. Maybe you open your phone again. Maybe you put something on to watch. Maybe you finally get a quiet hour to yourself. And for a moment, it almost feels like you're winding down. But if you pay attention, your body still isn't fully settling. Your shoulders stay just a little tight, your jaw not completely loose, you're breathing a bit more shallow than it used to be. Your mind keeps lightly scanning even while you're trying to rest. You switch between apps without meaning to. You scroll, pause, then scroll again. You look for something to watch. Start one video, then switch to another. Not because you're enjoying it more, but because your system is still slightly on, still looking, still refreshing, still waiting for the feeling to drop. You keep searching for something that will finally make your body go fully off. Fully calm, fully settled, but nothing quite does. Not because you don't know how to relax, and not because you're doing it wrong, but because your system has been running in the background for so long that fully off no longer feels familiar. And the longer this runs quietly in your life, the more it starts shaping how your days feel. Your focus feels less reliable. Your energy dips faster. Your rest doesn't feel as deep. Your evenings don't feel as restorative as they used to. And because nothing is obviously broken, most people never connect the dots. They just assume, I need more discipline. I need better focus. I just need to try harder. Maybe I just lost my edge. But pushing harder usually makes this worse, because this isn't just about effort, It's a nervous system that hasn't fully stood down in a very long time. And when your baseline state is slightly tense, everything on top of it starts to feel heavier than it should. Work feels heavier. Decisions feel heavier. Even normal days feel more draining than they used to. And if this pattern runs long enough, something else quietly happens. Being constantly a little tense starts to feel normal, then familiar, and eventually it starts to feel like your personality. Like this is just how you are now. If you recognize yourself in this, take a slow breath for a second. Not to fix anything, not to force yourself to relax, just to notice what state your system is already in. Because most people go through their days on autopilot. They feel the tension, but they never really see it clearly. They just live inside it, day after day, week after week. And when something stays invisible, it quietly stays in control. It shapes how your mornings feel, how your focus holds, how quickly your energy drops, how easy or difficult it feels to truly relax. But the moment you start noticing the pattern, something small begins to shift. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough to change how you relate to it. You stop assuming you're just bad at resting. You stop telling yourself you're simply behind all the time. You stop treating every tired moment like a personal failure. And that alone removes more pressure than most people expect. Because now you're not fighting yourself. You're understanding what your system learned to do. And when you see the pattern clearly, you also start noticing small windows during the day. Moments when your shoulders drop without you forcing them. Moments when your breathing slows on its own. Moments when your mind is a little quieter than usual. At first, they're easy to miss. They don't feel dramatic. They don't feel like breakthroughs, but they matter. Because your system doesn't relearn safety through force. It relearns it through repetition, through small moments where nothing is pushing it to stay on guard. And this is where many people finally exhale a little. Not because everything is suddenly fixed, but because the experience finally makes sense. That constant background tension was never a personal flaw. It wasn't a lack of discipline. It wasn't you falling behind in life. It was a system that adapted a little too well to constant pressure. And the good news is quiet, but real. Systems that learn something can also learn differently over time. Not instantly, not perfectly, but gradually. And sometimes the first real shift is simply realizing you were never broken to begin with.